Hi Niall, thanks for taking some time out to have a conversation with me today on our first ever lightning talk. We're going to be talking a quick for about 10 or 15 minutes, everyone, just to let you know, on quite a, not a hot topic really, and one that causes a lot of arguments now. I think you can agree,
Definitely.
which are change requests in the tech industry. They're everywhere. They happen in nearly every project, or at least every project I've been a part of. But why are they such a problem is what we're going to talk about today, and how we kind of try and handle that the best we can. So Niall, why do you think the most common reason a change request is submitted by a client to a company like ours, a software company?
Yeah. I think it very much has to do with how long is the project. Smaller projects inevitably obviously get done much faster. People have less time to think about it, so there's not as many change requests. I think the bigger enterprise projects that have a really structured design process, functional spec, technical spec, and then 2, 3, maybe 4 months of development, and then UAT kind of get the most change requests as we're going through development. Business still takes on their side, and they have all these great ideas of how we can enhance things, which inevitably become change requests. So I think, yeah, massively depends on the size of the project.
Okay, yeah. So essentially, the longer the project, the more change requests you're gonna inevitably end up having.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that gives people a reasonable expectation when they're setting off on a project that you're probably gonna have some. People argue about them. I've seen arguments happen within our team about them, across teams about them.
Mhm.
Why do you think they cause such friction between teams and between client provider?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the cases, or a lot of the times, are just different perspectives on what change request actually is. For me, and for most of my team, a change request is something that hasn't been already defined by the time development or design actually starts. So you can have change requests that are just changes heading to this, and it's not really much of a problem. But the arguments kind of start when it's a bigger change request that requires a lot of change in functionality that's already been built, a lot of functionality that might have already been designed or even finished in some cases. And that's where kind of the arguments can start of, should we do this now, or should we wait until X, Y, and Z has been developed, or until after the UAT phase?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like you say, I hear we have conversations that I pick up in the office all the time. Like, shall we do this for them? Shall we not? Obviously, as the head of delivery here at Indie Spring, you're normally the one pushing back because you're the one hitting deadlines, right? Versus other people that might want to keep clients on side. What can we do to mitigate the effect of change requests?
Yeah, there's a few things. First is kind of the start of the project, kind of setting out there at the very start what constitutes a change request. And this isn't just for the client, this is for the project team who'll be working on it, the project manager, the developers, the designers, the QA team, kind of define what a change request is, and how it will be handled throughout the project as we go. And from there, you go through your design phase, you go through your technical specification and your functional specification. Those should really be seen as your Bible now. This is how it's going to look, this is how it's going to work for a user, and this is how we're going to build it. Anything not in there would be considered a change request, which is why we're quite particular about making sure everyone understands them, everyone signs them off. Because as soon as that happens, we obviously dive straight into development. And it's just the less change requests, the better, from a perspective of upsetting development timelines, upsetting delivery timelines, kind of cost and budget as well. There's a lot of factors that kind of play into even the smallest one. But like you said there, some of them we will just take on the chin. If it's quite small, dev hasn't been started, it's not a problem to overhaul a ticket or a feature. It's when the change requests can be quite big and frequent that we then have to think about, do we do them now or wait?
Okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. But let's think about it from the client's point of view, okay? So they're going through a project and they might have an excellent idea that they want to add in, yeah? What can we do to set their expectations at the start that's okay? Like you've said that it happens, right? And we've
Yeah.
discussed twice already that it happens in nearly every project. how do we set their expectations to kind of almost expect that this is part of software development?
Yeah, like you said, for big projects, people have great ideas as we're kind of going through the project. You know, a lot of the ideas come out at the start in that discovery phase, but people will just think about stuff as they're having a chat. Even developers think about stuff as they're having a chat. It's about setting that expectation to start. You know, I expect change requests. Like I said, small projects will have less, but I will always expect a change request, and there's absolutely no harm in raising it. It's just setting that expectation there that any change request will inevitably have effect on either your budget, it'll have an effect on your timelines, and it's just about making sure that everyone's aware of that. So when it does come in and then the deadlines will change or the budget is raised, then everyone's kind of, it's not shocked to anyone, everyone's kind of prepared for it.
Yeah, okay. I just want to pick your brains as well, Niall. I was speaking to a sales guy who told me if he sold, obviously not in our company, but sold a £3 million project, he'd put £4 million in. So he'd mark that up by 33%, and he says, because by the end of the project, that's all of the extra stuff that will happen from me scoping it out at the start. Do you think that's a fair amount that people should expect an increase in their projects by, what, 33%, a huge amount? Or
33% does sound like a lot. I do think it is accurate. Now, what he's doing there, he isn't just planning for kind of change requests. He's planning for the knock-on that they would have. You know, if a change request comes in from the client, the steps that we would have to take as a team are kind of added in there. You know, the time for myself to kind of break it down, scope it out for the developers, the design teams to redesign something. If it's big enough, the QA guys to kind of estimate how long they're going to take, then obviously the developers to build it. So that number, that extra 33% is a little bit skewed with the kind of the thought that, oh, it's just developers changing something, and there's actually a lot more going on behind the scenes as well. But we're in an industry, in the tech industry, where things are forever evolving. So there'll be a little bit of that number there that is just kind of for third-party things such as like Apple and iOS. There's a lot that can change in a 6-month project. You know, if you're consider yourself unlucky to be doing a project over the month of September, Apple are going to release a new OS update, and that could have potential knock-on effects to your app or your project. And that, in definition, is a change request. You'll have to think about new things and new enhancements to kind of cater for these changes. So there's a little bit of that 33% in there. It's not just kind of expecting a client to change their mind. It's all their third-party tools out there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And as you say, I don't think many people, and certainly I wouldn't, think about that at the start of a project, that suddenly you're going to get someone else influence what's going on. That's really interesting. It's just like, say, it's quite a scary prospect it must be when you're embarking on a £3 million project. If you were told that up front, that actually we think it's going to be 4, I think that would change a lot of people's opinions on certain projects. But if you think that's a fair amount, obviously that scales, doesn't it? With different price points. That's really interesting. Yeah, I heard him say it and I was taken aback, and I work in the industry with you. But that's great. Yeah, I think, like you say, you've set some expectations with people, is tell everyone what they are first, define it. I think that's great. And then, yeah, expect that they'll happen, and that's part of the process, and that, yeah, your project might have to increase because of that, but that's the nature of software development.
Yeah. It's, I think if anyone could take anything away, it's about accept. Change requests will happen. People have great ideas, or things just simply won't work the way you wanted them to, kind of functionally or technically. It's just about accepting they will happen, and prepping for them the right way.
Great. Well, thanks for taking some time out to talk to me, Niall. I really appreciate it, and hopefully you'll have a change request free week.
Fingers crossed. Me only Christmas present.
All right. Well, thanks, mate, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks, Dave.
Cheers. Bye.